Hi guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another layout for the Confessions of a Paper Addict Cutfiles design team, and I'm using this beautiful cut file of a tulip bouquet and little love hearts in there, and it is called Tulips and Kisses, and this is part of the Perfect Match release, which is coming out this week and is a collab with Spiegelmom Scraps. So we're all going to be using beautiful sequins from her shop. So make sure you check out all the other design team members' layouts because they're all going to be gorgeous. So here is the photo I'm using. It's a photo of my wedding with me and my maid of honor there. This wedding was, oh gosh, a long time ago now, almost 10 years ago, and I really haven't scrapped it. I think I started scrapping it, and this was a long time ago, back before I was really experienced with scrapbooking, and I wasn't happy with how it turned out. So yeah, I'm getting back into it now. So you can see I'm digging through all my papers. I have my scrappery kit, the Sky kit from back at the start of the year. I've still got quite a bit of it left. It's all Midnight Collection, and I thought I would use one of the background paper, or one of the pattern papers for my background, but they all ended up just not being quite right. So I found this one. It's beautiful pink watercolor, and I'm pretty sure it's a Kaiser Craft one. Or it might be the Reject Shop actually. I just found it in my stash and it was perfect. So I'm still going to use the kit for the rest of the layout. So I'm going through all the 6x8 cards, the pocket cards, trying to find some ones that match and that I can lay out behind my photo. So I'm just using some double-sided tape. So I'm using that cream, and it's kind of like a blush pink cream color. And you saw I used some vellum first to back my photo before I used any pattern paper. I love to use vellum. It's a bit of a soft feature on my layouts. I use a script paper. I love it. It's so beautiful. I wish I had more of it. So I'm cheating and just cutting out my little rectangle, and I'm going to put a strip of it either side of the photo. I like to do this when I don't have duplicates of a paper, so this is the only sheet of this paper that I have, and I want to get as much out of it as I can. So just cheating like this, and then I'll trim it down. So I'm just going to continue building up my paper layers, and while I do that, I have already mentioned to go check out all the other design team members' layouts, of course. Make sure you check out the Confessions of a Paper Addict Facebook group, because there's an incredible community of scrappers in that group. Everyone's really supportive and everyone shares all their gorgeous layouts, and it's just a really wonderful place to be, and you will see all the new releases and all our projects as well. All the design team members are incredibly talented. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, this is a collab with Spiegelmom Scraps. We are all going to be using the same sequin mix from her shop. It's a new release. It is called the Vintage Dairy Mix, and you will see that a little bit later. I will hold it up to the camera and show you really carefully. It's such a beautiful pastel, pinky, dusty, oh, it's just a gorgeous mix. I was so happy to be able to use it on this layout. So here I'm just taking some crepe paper. It's just normal like party streamer, and I am accordioning. I'm plating it to make a ruffle, and I just lay down a strip of double-sided tape and sort of fold it over. That's the easiest way to do it, I find. So still going on with my layers. I'm just going to add a couple of sort of torn strips at the bottom of my photo there, because that ruffle is very soft, and I just felt like the bottom of that photo was looking a little bit harsh and straight. I actually end up putting quite a few layers on as photo mats on this one. So now I'm going to pop this up on foam, and I'll speed through this so you don't have to watch it all. I'm going to leave all the links to the Cutfile shop and to the Spiegelmom Scrap shop in the description box, so make sure you go check those out. Okay, now I'm going to back my Cutfile. I'm not going to back the whole thing, but I am going to back all the leaves and stems. So I'm just going around. I'm using the trace and fussy cut method, which I don't always do. It just depends what mood I'm in, which technique I use. Usually I'm just a stick like plonk and stick and then trim out the excess kind of person, but I think if it's a bit more of a fiddly shape like this, I don't know. Just depends on what mood I'm in, like I said. So that green paper is from a cheap paper stack from a dollar store. I'm not even sure. I just wanted the right color, and there's no green in this Midnight collection at all. So I showed you it right at the beginning of the video that I kept the internal heart-shaped parts out of the cut file, and this is why. So I'm going to go around and trace just with lead pencil on this beautiful floral paper that I only have a tiny bit left of. And then I'm going to cut those out. I could have done this in my silhouette, but really it wasn't worth it. They're pretty simple shapes, and it only took me a couple of minutes to trace them and cut them. It probably would have taken me longer to stick it on my mat, open up the program, and yeah, my silhouette and I don't always get along all that well, so I'm just using this method. It turned out really, really well, actually. You can't even tell that I did it by hand. I'll just whiz through the other ones, otherwise we'll be here all day. And again, a little more foam, so I'm going to pop these hearts up as well. Let's go through and I do all of them, I think. Yeah, popping them all up. That's just single-sided adhesive foam I get from Spotlight. Checking on my placement here, and I'm going to snip off this little heart because it was getting covered up by the photo and I don't want to waste any of this cut file. So I do stuff around a little bit trying to find a spot for this heart, but I can't really make it fit in anywhere where it doesn't look weird. So I'm just going to put it aside for now and come back to it when I'm further along with the layout. So it's about that time that I like to add some splatters. So I'm going to water down some white acrylic paint and splatter that all over the place. And I do it all over the background, but I'm mostly focusing on that bottom right where, well, near where my photo is going to be and where my title ends up, and the top left, so I have more of a sort of diagonal flow when you look at the page. That's just my jam. I almost always do some kind of diagonal flow on my page. So I do add splatters all over, but I'm concentrating them on that diagonal. And then I'm going to come in with some gold. Yep, so that's Gold Kaiser Mist. And same, just splatter it all over the place, concentrating on that diagonal. A little bit more. I find if you really want to hit the edges, you have to sort of aim past your page. And then I'm going in here with just some watercolors. They're just cheap, not from Spotlight, cheap ones from Officeworks, and I'm using that deep raspberry pink. I felt like it was a bit wishy-washy. I needed something extra, and this just really pulled it all together. I love that. And here is a sequin mix. It's called Vintage Dairy. As you can see, it's all soft colors, pinks and blues and purples, and it is just beautiful. So I pulled out my little dish here, and I'm going to tip them all out, and straight away I noticed there are some of these really large, kind of crinkly textured metallic, I'm going to say rose gold, but they're almost too pink. They're almost just like a metallic pink. Kind of, obviously I'm really good at explaining colors, but they're just so pretty, and I knew I wanted to use those, so I pulled them out and lined them up there. I wasn't sure how many I was going to use. And now I'm pulling out some twine. This is gold metallic embroidery thread, and it is horrible stuff. It does not like to be bent. It does not like to stay raveled. It just comes unraveled immediately. As you can see, I'm trying to twist those two strands together because it just unravels itself. It's awful stuff, and it's almost impossible to adhere down, but it's so pretty. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to wrap it around my bouquet, sort of like a bouquet wrap, like a ribbon. So I've just put some double-sided adhesive tape down for the tail, hoping that will hold it long enough that I can get it wrapped. And then I'm just wrapping it around and around and around. And I'm using that little peg just to hold it while I go get some more tape and some glue, because it would just pop straight off if I didn't do that. So I'm adding some more single-sided adhesive tape. This is just a temporary fix, really. I know that's not going to hold that for any length of time, so you can see there it just pinged straight off. So I'm just going to use my tweezers to sort of force it there, and then I'm going to grab my glue, and this is tacky glue, and I'm just going to soak it I am really covering that in glue, and then I'll take my finger and sort of tap it so it squeezes down in between all the strands, and that hopefully will hold it. It seems to be fine so far. And obviously I put more glue behind it when I stick it down to my layout. So now I'm threading, I think it's just 2 strands of the floss on a needle, and I'm going to thread some of these sequins onto my needle. Now I'm using the larger blue ones, and there's some larger pink ones as well. But the pink ones aren't traditional sequins. They don't have holes in them. Actually, a lot of these sequins don't have holes in them, which makes them really good to stick to layouts. But I actually wanted to thread them, so I'm using my Amy Tangerine paper piercing mat and just stabbing my needle through so I don't stab myself, and that worked just fine. I got them on there, as you can see. Oh, so pretty. I love this layout. So I stuck that behind, so it kind of looks like the tails of the tied bouquet, but it's just I'm faking. So there, I've just taken my lead pencil and I've traced around all those open tulips, and I'm actually going to backfill them with sequins. So I'm not making shaker pockets. I really wanted them to be fully filled, and kind of like I'm backing the cut file with sequins rather than a shaker pocket, which sometimes, they fall to the bottom, and I just really didn't want you to see the paper at the top of the flowers. So I'm going in with these large sequins, and I'm they're perfect size to nestle right at the bottom of those flower buds. And of course I dropped that first one glue side down straight on my layout, but it was fine. Oh, they're just so pretty and shiny. I love them. Kind of wish I had more of those big ones. I've only got one left now, but it was worth it. This layout looks great by the end. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm going to go through with all the other little flat-backed ones. So they're the ones that just don't have holes in them, they're just flat. And I'm gluing them all over those little flower buds, and oh gosh, they just look so pretty. Oh, they're so soft and delicate, and this is the first wedding layout I've made that I was happy with. So I think I'm definitely going to be doing some more in the future. There we go. Oh, finished. Look how shiny. Oh, I love it. I'm just testing my cut file, making sure it sits on top and everything still lines up, and it worked out perfectly. I was sure I was going to stuff this up, but it worked out perfectly, so I'm really happy. So I'm just going to glue my cut file down in bits now. So I've got it perfectly positioned, and I'm using glue so I can, it's tacky glue, but I do have a couple of seconds to reposition it if I need to. So there we go, perfect. And then I'm just erasing all those pencil marks. You couldn't really see them anyway, but I can be picky about stuff like that. Okay, so I'm not going to glue down the actual flower buds. I'm going to glue down, I glue down behind the leaves, and then I'm gluing the hearts flat, but those flower buds are staying popped up on top of those sequins. And then I'm gluing the hearts down on top so that they're popped up from the cut file. I used a few blue sequins in that in the cut file, which I wasn't intending to initially. So I go back and I use some of this. It's really funky, like recycled paper, and I'm just adding a little bit of that behind my photo because I just felt like it needed a bit of blue over on that side. So I just use a tiny bit, and yeah, I add a fair bit of glue because that paper's kind of really textured, and I wasn't sure it was going to hold. Again, just stressing the edges. Just tucking, my photo will go pretty much there, so that leaf on the bottom of the bouquet just tucks nicely over the top on the corner there. So I'm gluing these sequins down. This was a bit tricky. I did fight with it a bit, and it doesn't help that the thread doesn't like to stick to anything. I'm just sort of overlapping them all slightly and having them kind of like they're threaded onto the tails of the bouquet tie. So you can see that I'm struggling, but I get there in the end. There we go. And then I'm just going to trim the tails, and again I'll have to glue them down because you see as soon as I cut them they just sort of shoot out in whatever direction they feel like. I have such a love-hate relationship with this gold thread. It's so pretty, but it's such a pain in the bum. Go. And I'm playing with this again with this heart, but I do find a spot for it. It sits really nicely up in that little spot. So I'm just going to lay it underneath. You wouldn't even know it wasn't part of the cut file, like cut straight out like that. You can't tell. People are never looking that closely. And of course my big fat head gets in the way. Okay, I've got the sticker sheet here. As soon as I saw the word bloom on the sticker sheet, I knew I wanted to include that in my title because, I mean, it's a bouquet and my girl's holding a bouquet of flowers in the picture, which is a lot of the reason why I chose this photo. But my title is going to be Beauty in Bloom. And I feel like I can say that now because, I mean, I was very young. I was a lot younger than I am now in this photo. And yeah, I mean, we were both beautiful girls. We still are. So I'm just going ahead and I spelled out the in with some Pink Fresh Studio, I think it's the Indigo Hills 2 collection, puffy little mini alphas. And then I've spelled out beauty with those beautiful glitter thickers. I'm not sure what the name is, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure they were from a Dear Lizzie collection. I could be wrong about that, don't quote me. A tiny word sticker from the sticker sheet that just says best friends. And now I'm going through the ephemera. I actually don't use a whole lot of ephemera on this page. I think that tends to be the case when I use a cut file most of the time because it uses up, well, it does so much of the work for you and it takes up so much of the real estate on your page that you don't need to fill it with a bunch of other stuff. And my photo is quite large. So I'm fiddling with some leaves and bits and pieces. I wanted another pop of navy at the top of my photo because I've got that really dark navy at the bottom in the title and I sort of wanted a pop of it either side of the photo so that your eye didn't shoot past the photo and go straight to the title. So I'm playing with these florals. I just couldn't, I mean, it looks okay now I'm looking at it on camera, but at the time I just couldn't get it to work. I tried that heart. No, I don't like it. It's too, I think my problem is the top of that page is so light compared to the bottom. Everything just looked really dark and heavy up there, but I ended up finding this label on the sticker sheet that is half pink and half navy, and it's not a really big dark bold pop of navy, but it's just enough that you can see that it's there and it draws the eye. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that alone. Playing with this spot now, I just felt like it was a little empty. It needed a little something. I think because the photo's at a diagonal as well, that space just felt a little empty. So I decide to put in this little tab sticker. I like that heart, but it was a bit big, so I grabbed one off the sticker sheet, and that's perfect. And while I was there, I noticed that there were a few more, and I just thought they would look beautiful spraying out of the top of that bouquet. So I'm really glad I did that. It was really spur of the moment. So I just want to add another little thing in here, and I like that little flower, but it was a little big, so I've swapped it out for a slightly smaller one. I love this collection. I wish I had more of it. So I'm just going through and tidying that. The die cut was a little bit, had the knobbly bits on it, as Virginia would say. Stuck that in. Okay, and now is the point where I go through and go sequin crazy. So I just wanted more sequins, lots and lots of sequins all over the place. So I'm just sprinkling those all around the top and the insides of that bouquet. It's just super, super pretty. It just kind of looked like it was sprinkling out of the bouquet. So pretty. I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. Once I've done that, I'm just going to go in and pop in a cluster of 3 sequins around my title, but the camera went out of focus, so I just cut that part out, but you will see it in the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Don't forget to check out all the links to the Cutfile shop and to Spiegelmom Scrap Shop. The links are in the description box. Close-ups coming up. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.